Thank you, Chair. I can confirm the meeting is now live.
Great, thank you, Simon. Hi, everyone. I'd like to call to order and start with our land acknowledgement for October 22nd's meeting of the Heritage Advisory Committee. So I'd like to acknowledge that the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. And item two, so the approval of the minutes for September 2024. I'd like anyone to identify if there's any errors or omissions. I'd like to call for the motion to approve the minutes.
I so move.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Item three, so for the approval of the order of business and the approval of any additions and deletions. Simon, are there any additions or deletions?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, the clerk's office has not received any calls for additions or deletions for this meeting.
Great. And would any members like to move any items? All right, I'll call for the motion to approve the order of business.
I move. Oh, I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So item four, there is no business arising out of the minutes for last meeting. And I'd like, number five, I'd like to call for any declarations for conflict of interests. Great. So item six is there's no consideration of deferred business. Item seven, for correspondence, petitions, and delegations. Simon, has there been any correspondence received by the clerk's office?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, the clerk's office did receive two pieces of correspondence for item 9.2.1. That has been circulated to all members of the committee.
Thank you. And to Simon, is there any petitions that you'd like to bring forward?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, the clerk's office has not received any petitions for circulation at this meeting.
Thank you, Simon. And to the committee, are there any petitions you wish to bring forward? Thank you. For item seven, presentations, there are none. For item eight, there's no information items brought forward. Item nine, for reports and discussion. There are no staff reports, but there's a committee member update. And so I'm gonna move. So item 9.2.1 is for the immediate action concerning specific properties. I will move that the Heritage Advisory Committee recommend that Heritage Regional Council request the staff report to one, direct Heritage Planning staff to review, and if appropriate, based on the criteria in the Heritage Property Act and bylaw H-200, prioritize the preparation of a formal heritage reports for 2494, 2500, 2511/2516 Robie Street. Number two, to direct Heritage Planning staff to review and if appropriate, based on the criteria in the Heritage Property Act and bylaw H-200, prioritize the preparation of a formal heritage report for 5816 North Street if a valid third-party heritage application is received. And three, explore the feasibility, resource implications, and anticipated timelines to prioritize the completion of heritage reports on the properties identified in parts 1 and 2 of the motion, as well as future properties under imminent threat of demolition. Can I have a seconder?
We have an opportunity. Sorry, I was just going to ask, I don't know if now's the right time, but do we have an opportunity to discuss these?
Yep.
Motions?
So can I just briefly jump in for a minute just to discuss some procedural elements? I think
Yep.
where the chair is moving this motion, we did have a little bit of a prior discussion in terms of the chair will step down for the discussion of this item in order to move the motion. And if there's no objections, we had suggested, and I believe we'd suggested Brian McDonald might be able to chair this portion of the meeting.
Mhm.
If there's no objections to that, he has agreed to be available to make himself available to do that. Regarding the process for it. So first we would put the motion on the floor, and then there is an opportunity for debate and discussion. Where it's likely there's going to be some significant discussion. We would probably recommend from the clerk's office to maintain formal timing. We tend not to do this for heritage application matters where there's or scoring matters where there's kind of a lot of a need for a bit more discursive suggestion offering and things like that. But for formal discussion of motions, what we do under Administrative Order 1 is each and every member of the committee gets an initial 5 minutes to speak to the topic and ask questions of staff. And following that, members get an additional 3 minutes to continue asking questions of staff or having discussion, debate. If anyone makes an amendment to the motion, so an amendment, have to move an amendment and put it on the floor with a seconder. Then everyone's clock, the original speaking list kind of gets paused. Everyone's clock gets reset. Members have 3 minutes to speak to any amendments, and then an additional 3 minutes after that. And then so on and so forth. The amendment is voted on. That's resolved, and we go back to the original speaking list on the main motion. Are there any questions, concerns, point of order issues with that sort of process as described? Yes, Paul?
Okay,
Oh,
you
sorry.
started off, Simon, by saying there was some talk before the meeting. And weren't we supposed to have been privy to that talk?
Well, this was just procedure for today, and we are having that discussion now as well in terms of who should, what the process should be under Administrative Order 1 for chairing the discussion of this item. That was all the discussion we had, was that Brian offered to make himself available to chair this portion of the meeting. If there's concerns with that, certainly free to raise those, but I think there's nothing objectionable to just the appointment of an acting chair for this matter. That's pretty typical, where if a chair is bringing a motion and wants to speak to a motion, they're asked to just step down from the chair and allow another person to chair the meeting. Normally, it would be the vice chair that would step up in that case. Our vice chair at the moment is taking a leave of absence, so we would just briefly need an acting chair, and that's why we reached out to Brian.
Yeah, so sorry, I thought Step was put it on the floor and then step down before the debate.
Oh, no,
Thank you for clarifying.
Chair should have stepped down prior to the motion being put on the floor.
Yes, thank you. My day job's not in politics, so I appreciate the guidance there. So with that, I'd like to, for this motion that I will be moving, I'd like to step down from the chair and invite Brian to act as the chair. If there are any objections, please identify those.
No, it's good to see procedure being followed.
Yes, thank you. All right, Brian. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, Brian, I think you might be muted there. So,
sorry, I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm going to ask Simon to do the timing on this, please, for the speaking limits. And who was looking to speak first?
well, first, I think we do just need to get a seconder for that motion, and
wasn't seconded.
I should mention, the chair there did read the motion out. I don't think we have to read it again. I think everyone can see it. So I'll just ask if there's a seconder for the motion at this time.
I second the motion.
Okay, back to you, Chair, then, and I will time members as they speak and keep the speaking order.
Okay, commentary and comments. Who's looking to speak?
We'll go ahead if no one else is in line.
So if I may speak first why I brought this motion forward. So looking back to last meeting where we had two petitions brought forward, one was on blanking right now, sorry, was it William Street? That one, to my knowledge, was too far gone. And understanding, we had this other petition with those four properties. And we kind of just not glazed over, but it wasn't, I don't think we knew at that time some other options we may have had. So why I'm bringing this motion forward is that we do have four properties here that have some pretty strong petitions and where, the community wants action. And whereby we heard from staff that, they have their set process. It's kind of first come, first serve, rather than a couple situations where they would prioritize reports. And whereas, the other property was too far gone. I don't want to have another case where we have a property that doesn't get the opportunity to be reviewed for its heritage value before there's a irreversible change made whereby it's demolished. So that's kind of where this comes into. And from my knowledge, there are third-party applications for the Robie Street properties. However, the North Street one that's connected to another heritage property that was Black Doctors does not have one as of when I wrote the motion.
Can I ask staff a question on clarification of process?
We may be able to answer questions, clarification at this time, sure.
You're going to get a staff presentation of any information at all? I'd like to clarify who owns these properties, and B, are they not a part of a municipal planning strategy for the bus rapid transit corridor?
So I haven't received a presentation to submit to the committee at this time from staff. It's possible that there are staff who may be able to speak to that. I would suggest that would be probably best. Those questions would be best posed as part of formal debate and discussion. So if you'd like, Councillor, to speak to that item, you certainly can now as part of your time. But
I have a point of motion. Councillor Hensey am I correct to say he's driving?
Yes. I'm on hands free. See?
No, not no hands.
Yay. You're a great role model.
So maybe we can just return to a speaker's list if we can.
Yes, who wants to speak next?
Well, can I get clarification of questions I asked? Is A, who owns the properties, and B, are they not a part of our municipal transit plan for the bus rapid transit corridor on Robie?
Who would have that
Mr.
information?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can try to address a couple of the councilors' questions there. So a couple of the properties that came in as a third-party registration request are owned by the province. There's another property that is owned by another party, that being the property on North Street, 5816. So as you know, along Roby Street, there is a project in terms of integrated mobility plan, looking at opportunities to facilitate bus rapid transit along that street. In terms of whether that's a part of that project or not, I mean, that's a project that's outside of the realm of our team. We're not actively involved in that project, so it wouldn't be fair for us to try to give you kind of an update on the details of what's happening on that project, but it is within the study area of that project.
So I would have thought we had a survey plan showing the potential corridor and how it affects certain properties along Roby Street. Because I'm finding that if that's the case, those properties owned by the province, I don't think they're going to allow us to register them as heritage anyway. They'll just declaim their superiority and declare that these will not be declared surplus or as heritage because it goes in the face of their provincial interest in regards to providing that bus rapid corridor. Plus, I believe any surplus lands left over after the corridor has been created is going to go for public housing opportunity.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So the Heritage Property Act, if we are to move forward with these heritage registration applications at some time or another, the province does have to act in accordance with the act, but they would have the opportunity, should it advance to a heritage hearing in the future, to participate in that hearing and share their voices and concerns with council before council makes that decision. And it is possible, like Councillor Hensby mentioned, that some of that opposition might be tied to some of their ongoing strategic initiatives, but they would have the opportunity to participate in that hearing like other property owners if it was to reach that point.
I'll pass for now. I'll have some comments later.
Okay. Who else wants to speak to this issue? Thought someone else was looking to.
I'll go ahead if no one else
Okay,
is.
sure.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about the precedent this might set sort of both ways. I understand sort of, Tyler, your comment on obviously wanting to consider buildings at risk and wanting to use our power to protect heritage buildings. I think that's sort of the interest that we all have, but I do worry about sort of directing staff to prioritize certain third-party applications. On one hand, there's nothing guaranteeing that if a third-party registration is upheld and that registration proceeds, I do have concerns about sort of overall maintenance of those buildings, being that there's currently no incentive or nothing, no policies in place that would actually require those owners to maintain their buildings despite the registration being in place. So directing staff to prioritize certain third-party registrations where the owners are likely opposed to the registration. I just wonder if that's the best allocation of staff resources, being that there is a long list currently of registration applications that have been submitted by owners who are ready to maintain their buildings, to invest in their buildings. And I do wonder, for certain properties where registration is being completed and work is being done as part of a heritage development agreement, I do worry that if we were to sort of prioritize these third-party registrations, that it would sort of have the reverse effect that we're wanting, where it might actually put more properties at risk, being that owners who own buildings who are trying to register them currently and are getting frustrated with potential wait times or the risk involved in potential development. I do worry that if we were to prioritize these third-party ones over the applications that are currently sitting in the queue, we would have a whole new list of buildings that were proposed to be demolished and development agreements that would not be completed that are currently underway. The Heritage Development Agreement path is currently the only way that within the city where sort of the staff can mandate maintenance of our heritage buildings. I worry that prioritizing these third-party applications, which I've said 90 times, but I just worry about the precedent that if we say yes to these specific buildings right now, knowing that potentially the owners will appeal anyways, I just don't know that I necessarily agree that this is the best use of staff resources right now within the Heritage team. So I personally don't know that I could support this motion just based on the information that we have available. I would also really appreciate and wonder from staff, is it possible, like, are we ever, in these cases for the third party applications, are we ever given those applications? Are we ever privy to the information that is being discussed in some of these correspondence items? Because I don't necessarily feel comfortable enough as a member of this committee just taking a one-line note in an email saying that research has been done and this building has been deemed to be of historic significance, as I don't have enough faith in that without seeing the sort of evidence myself of that research. So I would ask if it's possible that for any of these type of matters where there is slightly sort of contentious information being discussed, if it is possible to be provided with the research that the third party applicant is claiming to have, as well as like Councillor Hensby had mentioned, information on sort of the owners. And I just think that that would really help the discussion of the committee and make it a lot easier for me personally to be able to sort of stand on one side or the other, feeling as though I am able to make an educated decision on such important matters. So with the information that I've been provided right now, I don't feel confident that I could support this motion for fear of what I had mentioned at the start of the conversation. So that's my piece.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Any commentary?
Mr. Chair, would you like me to respond to Megan's question?
Oh, sure. If you have, if you have information, thank you.
Sure. So in terms of Megan's comments and a few comments from earlier, so yes, I guess the subject matter before the HAC today, it would be a deviation from our standard processes. When it comes to sharing information with the Heritage Advisory Committee, so staff, as I mentioned last meeting, we have a procedure in place where we accept registration applications from the public. Then we assign them to staff for review and whatnot. So in terms of giving early information to the HAC, so the HAC can't determine on a case-by-case basis what application staff should be working on. The HAC can strictly make recommendations to regional council on broad planning matter or heritage matters rather. So this motion is fine in terms of asking staff to reevaluate the process and provide an information report. Like that is something they can request. But right now, just as an example, we have, excluding these properties, I believe over 20 heritage registration applications that have been accepted either by property owners or third party. So we don't have a practice where we circulate all that information to the HAC to assess which ones are important or which ones not. That's something that staff have to do using our standard procedures. And also sometimes factoring in some of HRM's strategic initiatives, which sometimes helps us like break a tie or prioritize which one goes over another in terms of outstanding strategic initiatives or direction that we already have from council. So yeah, in terms of Megan's request, I don't foresee a situation where we start running every application that we receive through the HAC, because again, the HAC can't direct staff on every single application that we have or every single project that we're undertaking. So I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
What you're saying is,
Sure.
go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if there's something I missed, Megan, let me know.
No, yeah, I was just to clarify, I was just saying in this specific instance where we're being asked to request that staff reconsider without being provided the research, or
Sure.
I don't feel as though I have a strong enough foundation or knowledge of what would make these specific properties of potentially higher significance to even direct or ask that staff reprioritize or like you're saying, review and evaluate if there is a shift needing to be made. So I just, in these specific instances where typically the registrations come with a staff report, and that gives us a good, amount of information to be able to make decisions off of. In this case, where we're being asked to make a decision without being provided any of the sort of foundational information,
Yeah, for sure.
I
So
think
no,
that
that's
is what I was speaking to.
Yeah, that's a good point as well for you, Mr. Chair. So regardless of what happens from this motion or other motions, I think it's important that the HAC realizes that in order for an item to get to the HAC for detailed debate and discussion on whether it should be registered, and we go through the scoring process, that is never going to be instantaneous. There is a procedure that we have to follow as staff. Part of that includes intaking the third-party research information, vetting it, verifying it, and preparing a staff report. There'll never be a situation where we can just give unverified information to the HAC and the HAC assesses that instantaneously. There's always going to be a process and a report writing process in place, and that's always going to take some time from staff. This will never really be an instantaneous thing. It's always going to take at least a couple of months in order for staff to do our due diligence, to vet, research, and make sure it's thorough and is touching on all the heritage criteria that this committee has to evaluate when they're making their decisions. So again, in order for us to give vetted research, we need the staff report. So there's always going to be a bit of a lag. The HAC will never get unvetted information before there's a staff report. There's a detailed process that we have to follow just to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, and thus the committee can follow the terms and conditions outlined in the Heritage Property Act.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the
And
Heritage Property Bylaws,
But
rather.
it seems the larger question as well is, and I think you've alluded to it, is the Heritage Advisory cannot choose the order in which things are done. That's beyond the purview of the committee. That's my understanding.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, the HAC can directly give work to staff. They can make a recommendation to regional council who should consider what they want staff to work on. So we already have several pieces of direction from regional council in terms of projects that we should be working on, including things like heritage conservation districts, where we focus on tens of or hundreds of properties at a time, projects stemming from the culture and heritage priorities plan. So those are things that council will need to consider as well if there is new direction they want to give to staff. Like, where does any new direction fit in with these larger strategic priorities that we're already working on? So there's always going to have to be some debate at the council level after the HAC makes a recommendation to them.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, if I may, my problem with these third-party applications coming in at the 13th hour, I guess you could say, is sometimes I see this as more a procedural intervention to try to block from a particular project moving forward. Like, this is a municipal approved corridor for the bus rapid transit from Robie Street. We knew these properties are going to be involved in regards to the acquisition of land and widening the road for bus lanes and stuff like that. So I'm finding this will put our Heritage Advisory Committee in conflict with the municipal planning for that corridor. So I find that these third-party applications, in my opinion, are should be tossed out in regards. It's nothing but trying to circumvent the process to try and delay a municipal project that's in progress.
Okay. The legislative assistant has given me a list of people willing to speak, and Hinge is next.
Thank you. Hello. So I'm wondering if there's anything that can be done with these particular properties with regards to saying, not so much as keeping them where they're at, but move them, the whole property instead of demolishing the property, and still, because these were affordable housing at one point in time. These were affordable places for people to live. So I'm trying to understand. I don't know the full process of it all because I'm new to council. I'm new to this process here. So I'm learning, But I do remember a heritage property that was down on Moore Street that was moved to Creighton Street. So I'm wondering, and it's maintained as a affordable housing. So I'm wondering if that could be a possibility as well.
I mean, there had to be a developer interested in doing that, I would think.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So I mean, we do have applications sometimes where part of the proposal does involve relocating a registered heritage property. I mean, in these particular situations, these properties, they don't have protection under the Heritage Property Act right now. They're not registered. So yeah, right now we can't compel the owners to do something like that, but there's no barriers in place to them that says that they couldn't look at doing that later if some
Yeah.
kind of a redevelopment scenario were to surface. That's not
If-
something that's not
Exactly.
something
So
that's a
if we
barrier
did
to.
make them a heritage property or thought about making them heritage, then that could be a consideration as well, correct?
In terms of heritage registration, so it's once the heritage registration is in place, it's tied to the property itself. So if a building was to be relocated on the property, that's something that we could definitely look at. If there is a proposal to relocate a building on a registered property elsewhere, I mean, there's a process for that as well, but the registration wouldn't just move with the building. There would have to be a process where we approve the building to move and then, in theory, re-register the new property that has the building on it. So, I mean, again, it's confusing, but it is something that is an option. But again, it's not something we can necessarily compel under the act.
Plus the deregistering of the property itself.
Sorry, Dave, what did you say?
Plus, you would have to deregister the property if the original site got approved for heritage status. Then we have to go through a process of unregistering it, even if we want to move the house.
So the property that I'm talking about that moved to Creighton Street, they still have their registered status.
After the fact, but that doesn't have the Morse location does not have heritage status anymore.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the location. I'm talking about the property itself.
Yeah, but the problem is the designation goes with property and house.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
Anything else? On the list, I also have Ruby. Looking to speak.
Yeah, I also have similar concerns about third-party registration of just particularly these properties because I have just been Googling while everyone's been talking. And I was looking at property online, and 2 of the properties are owned by St. Paul's Home, and the other 2 are owned by. I was also wondering if it's a typo, the 251 1 Robie Street. Is it 2514 or 2514, or is it 2511?
514 on the notes. In
Okay,
the
so I
chat,
think
we have
it's
2514.
in the motion. It says 11, but it's 14. And that property is owned by the province. So I think reallocating or allocating resources to writing staff reports on these properties might not be necessary. Because they've been bought by the province and they're owned by I just think there's a bit more context and planning already involved in these properties, and I don't know if it's quite the same. I'm not wording anything properly today, but I was going to go through all the BRT network and see if it lines up, but I hadn't got to that yet because property online takes forever if you use it. It's annoying. For the North Street property, has there been a third-party heritage application received?
For you, Mr. Chair, yeah, so that
Okay.
property. We received a third-party application last week
Okay.
for that application, so I think it came in after Mr. Chair put this motion together.
Okay. I think that was already talked about, but it went over my head because I was Googling. Is there, I think my issue with this is I wish that we had the list, even if we didn't have the information, just a list of what properties have received, what properties we have applications for, and what properties are third party or the owner applied for, or just that, just like the list, so we know how many is on the docket. Is that possible? Like, not all the other background information, but just a working list. It could be, I don't know, does it need to be confidential? Could it be in an Excel spreadsheet that's just shared? Sorry, Tyler, yeah.
So with that, it'd be 4 properties to my knowledge, and with, was it Jesse just saying that the North Street property had a third-party registration? Then
Sorry, not of these properties, because these properties, like, we know, but could we have a list of all of the properties? Or do you mean that there's only 4 currently?
only the 4 that I've put forward, and if there's a typo in we can get that corrected.
So through you, Mr. Chair. So in terms of releasing all that information, I mean, that would be a deviation again from our standard intake process. So I'd have to check with legal on that, but just because it would be such a big deviation, like we don't typically do that. Usually that's handled at the staff level, and then staff make the priority list based on when applications are received, sometimes factoring in, like I mentioned previously, strategic initiatives that council has already given staff to work at. So if there's an alignment, we might be able to move one up a little bit. But yeah, that would be something totally different. So I would say it's unlikely, but I would have to defer to legal. So I'd have to follow up on that.
Yeah, I think in this case, this is different. This is something that we don't normally have. But in this case, it would be like, if we're answering this, there's just so much background context that we don't have when we just have this motion, and we don't know what other properties are waiting to be registered. Do we have other players involved in these properties, as it seems like we might, and we do? And I know this is just to get a background report, but just having a bit more of an understanding of the inner workings of the heritage planning staff team and your workload.
Yeah,
Might be a bit helpful in trying to provide feedback.
So through you, Mr. Chair, again, I think it would be unlikely, but again, I can check with our legal colleagues. But in terms of other information, I would say no to that. I mean, typically when we come to the Heritage Advisory Committee, the Heritage Advisory Committee's role is to look at any application or issue before the committee strictly from a heritage point of view only. So in terms of giving additional background information on property ownership or projects that are kind of irrelevant or independent of the registration process, we wouldn't be including that information in a staff report or anything to HAC. When we bring a staff report forward, we have to be very careful that the report only speaks to heritage specific matters.
Okay.
Just between speakers, if I can briefly, and before we move away from it, where it was mentioned there may be a typo in the motion regarding one of the properties. I just wanted to suggest that that can probably be quickly and easily addressed just by request from a friendly motion. If we need to correct that, we can probably do that way. That would be easiest. Just to confirm my understanding is that that it would be 2514, 2516 Robie Street in part 1 of the motion. Is that correct? Okay,
Correct.
that sounds good. Then if there are no concerns from the mover of the motion and the seconder, we can suggest that's a friendly motion. I'll just pause for a moment to hear any concerns via pushback, but otherwise we consider that done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who has not spoken yet who wishes to address the issue?
I believe Councillor Hartling is still on the list, and
Okay.
I believe Tyler would also like to speak for a second round after that, I believe.
After everyone else has spoken, he said, yeah.
yeah.
Sure. Counselor?
Also Paul Clark too.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tyler, thank you very much for bringing this forward. I understand what we're trying to achieve by this. But to Councillor Hensby's point, I don't see how it really makes sense to invest staff time and everything else, given the nature of these properties. And particularly where the application is not coming from the property owner. I don't think that this is a wise investment for the HAC. In as much as I really, really do appreciate what you're trying to achieve here, I don't think that this idea has legs, if I could put it that way. So I will leave it there. Thank you so much for the idea, and I appreciate you trying to get ahead of it. But given where these properties are and the nature of it, I think it's probably better. From my point of view, I think that this is going to be a no from me. So I just thought I would mention that, because if I'm not going to vote in the affirmative, I should be fair about why. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt, you wish to speak? Kurt?
No, I just said Paul Clark has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw your name come up, that's all. Paul? What else have we got?
Oh,
You're on mute, Paul.
sorry, Paul, you're on mute.
Oh, that's it.
Look at that. I am on mute. My gosh. See, it's mind stuff. Okay, 2 points. 2 points. Councillor Hinch, you were mentioning about at one time this housing was affordable housing. I bring up the point that at one time all housing in Halifax, Dartmouth was affordable housing. The question is, affordable to whom? And the other point, to Jesse, I'm hearing often that there's not enough staffing to take on to extend the responsibilities of the committee. The simple answer there is to hire more people. And I'll be saying no. Definitely not affirmative to this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else who wishes to speak before Tyler does his second redirect? Okay then, Tyler?
Thank you, Chair. So I guess to reiterate that this motion was put forward because, hearing the voices of residents, this is, they found value in these properties. If I guess a point of clarification would be, is the North Street property also part of that transportation corridor? And could I direct that to whoever may know?
My name's Kurt,
Okay.
my name's
Go
Kurt
ahead.
Pyle, a manager of Heritage. Yes, it is part of the corridor.
Okay. So, from what I'm hearing, not much support with the motion now. I'd like to propose a amendment to the motion, because I still do believe that there should be a process where we can, if there's value in a property, that we can expedite the process. And item 3 of the motion is exploring the feasibility of expediting reports. would we be able to, change that? And I'd like to hear people's thoughts on that. So, we can just have that report to see, what is the feasibility? Is this something doable in the future so that we can get it implemented in the future? I don't want us to just cut and dry because we don't like some parts, these properties don't really fit the bill, but I
Can I suggest that we vote on the motion in parts? I think that there's 3 parts. We can vote on each part or separately.
Mhm.
Thank
was
you,
just gonna
Councillor. I was
say-
going to suggest as well.
Sorry, the item number 3 does reference parts 1 and 2 in the way that it's currently phrased. So I think Tyler's suggesting that an amendment to potentially detach that item from its ties to the properties mentioned specifically in items 1 and 2 might be required. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler.
Yeah, if it would be great. I guess, yes, I was kind of, the intent was to detach it from the other 2 motions. If it requires rewording, so be it, but it would be good if that report could also hear out the implications of the 4 properties that are listed in the motion, the other piece of the motion as well. But overall, yeah, so if we can have something where, get a staff report on what can the future look like on maybe new processes, instead of following the old same processes, let's evaluate and make changes, if needed.
Of course, that would speak to the mandate of the committee too, Tyler. Are you looking to do an amendment to your motions?
100% if we can vote on each part 1, 2, and 3 separately.
On second
Or
review, where
however, Simon.
Where they do reference, where part 3 of the motion does reference the other 2, and they do include within that a request for the completion of staff reports and prioritization. It's hard for me to separate these 3 motions. I don't think it can be done in this particular instance. I think that a future staff report could be requested. Generally exploring some of these topics, but I think that that's something that probably should be taken away for further discussion, just to clarify the intention there, to make sure it receives a bit more discussion and consultation.
That's fair.
Yep. But that said, happy to let staff speak to that. I see Kurt is ready to speak to this as well.
In terms of the number 3, the motion or the motion 3 is talking about processes, and what you're really looking at are 2 different processes: one for registration and one for demolition. Just in context, the permit process takes weeks to get a permit, where a designation takes months, and there's the real issue relative to overlap. Is trying to make sure that, because sometimes we do not find out until the last minute that it's up for demolition, or an demolition has been applied for. To get a report forward and everything else is a lot of resources to do that. And these 5 applications would significantly change our operational requirements right now to work on CHPP, the HDAs, and also heritage conservation districts. So I just want to put that out there as context.
Do we want to take this to a vote as one motion?
Can
Are
I
we
ask a
ready?
question before you guys do that?
Sure, Virginia.
So the house on North Street, is it possible that we get more information on it, the historic contents of it and things like that, before we really shoot this down? I know that this particular place was owned by a Black doctor. that helped people during the Halifax explosion, like assisted with people within the Halifax explosion. So I would really, really, really like to see if we could get either more information, if that's possible, or before we decide to just wipe it clean. Is that possible?
It'll be something staff would have to address.
Yeah, I don't think for a where this is a committee member update item that there's really a process for staff to come back with more information than what they're able to provide today regarding the motion that's before you at this time. Staff can kind of clarify and let me know if there's something that I'm missing here, but I think this is kind of the extent to which staff can speak to this potential motion today. They have the information that they have, and they've provided that through some of the questions we've asked today.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair, just to touch on a couple quick things. Yeah, kind of as Simon mentioned, and I alluded to further, in order to come back with detailed research, we would have to go away and start that process of vetting and doing some additional research as needed before we present that to the HAC. Granted, we haven't done that level of research and vetting yet for this North Street property, but I did want to acknowledge that 5812, 5814 North Street, that was registered because it was, apologies if my pronunciation is wrong, is Dr. Lagore's private hospital. He was the African Nova Scotian doctor. So that the property where his office has been registered already. So there's a level of protection there. That is the adjacent property. Again, in terms of getting into the fine details of this North Street property, we would just have to dig a bit deeper. So.
Oh, I'm thinking about the wrong property. My bad.
That's okay. I had a vague memory we had done that. I was trying to think. Are we ready for the question?
I see. I just posted in the chat a couple more raised hands.
Okay. I just saw that. Okay. Okay. We have first a comment from Jones.
Hello, my name is David Jones, not Jones.
Sorry, I just see Jones in my list.
Okay.
Sorry, I just used last names in the comments there. My apologies.
I think it's problematic that people in this meeting don't even know what houses, what properties we're speaking about. And that's something that arises when we only just see house numbers. So I think that connects to what other people have been saying is like, we're debating about protecting houses that we don't even have a staff report on yet. And we don't really know what the historical significance is. So it puts us in a really tricky situation. So I am leaning against voting against this motion.
Okay, thank you. Megan, you're next on the list.
Great, thanks. Yeah, again, I very much so agree with what David had just spoke about. I would potentially propose, based on Tyler's previous comment, that if possible to either amend item number 3 of the motion or sort of if there's a way to separate it out from the other motion. Just I do very much so agree with what you had said, Tyler, regarding the importance of doing our due diligence now and potentially putting in the work now to understand how these processes might be adapted in order to prevent similar situations from happening in the future, where unfortunately we don't necessarily have much of a choice in what's happening with demolitions or the state of heritage buildings. I would also request that oh, sorry, did I cut out for a second there?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. I don't know where exactly I cut out, but I was just saying that I agree with what Tyler was proposing regarding the importance of directing staff to explore the implications and sort of what a new process might look like to address the items mentioned in item number 3. I would also potentially like to add that exploring the information that we're being provided with regards to, like David had said, being asked to make decisions without being provided a basic level of information. I would also like to ask if there's a way to potentially amend that item number 3 to request that staff review. I know, Jesse, you had said that you would take it back to legal, but maybe do a more in-depth review of how that process might better equip members of the committee in these circumstances with a sufficient level of information to make decisions that we are being asked to make.
Okay, thank you. And Nancy, you were looking to speak again?
Yeah, thank you very much. I was going to suggest, given that, given everything that I've heard today, maybe the answer isn't tucked inside this motion. I'm just wondering if perhaps, Tyler, you might be interested in bringing another motion to this committee in the future that really speaks to our rules and procedures for further review, because I feel like we are now well beyond the intent of this motion. And perhaps it might make sense to revisit it in a motion that actually makes sense instead of trying to craft one on the fly and all of that sort of stuff. I think we've landed on the issue that I think, you know, many of us would like to explore further. I just don't know that it's really in the motion that we're looking at today.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And just briefly, from the clerk's perspective, again, I don't think it is possible, based on the drafting of the motion as currently drafted, to separate them for the sake of voting. They kind of are codependent. I think that it is possible to potentially discuss an alternative if this motion should fail, but it would probably be best to bring that back to to have a little bit of drafting and bring that to a future meeting. If I understand some of, what the committee's discussion on this has been, it'd be something like, that HAC recommend that regional council request a staff report to explore the feasibility, resource implications, and anticipated timelines to prioritize the completion of heritage reports on properties under imminent threat of demolition. So there's no explicit, property identified. It's really sort of more of a general discussion.
Exactly.
But I think that, possibly that's better to take to a future meeting to have a little bit more time to finesse and, make sure that the motion mover for that intends that specifically and not something else. So that would be my recommendation to members at this time.
Thanks, Simon. So Charlie, do we want to go ahead? Maybe there's an option to withdraw the motion, come back to another meeting with something more focused, or we can go ahead with the vote on this one.
It's on the floor.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We have to move forward. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to call a question.
I see David.
All in favor of the motion? What's that?
I see David Jones. Oh, no, never mind. He took it down.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Thank you. Those opposed?
Opposed.
The nays have it. Okay. We moved through that item, so Tyler, I can hand the meeting back to you.
Great. Thank you, Brian. All right. So item 10, there's no added items. And so the date of our next meeting is November 26, 2025.
Yeah.
Is there anything we'd like to add? Or we have a mover for adjournment?
I'll move it.
Sorry, I was just going to ask one quick question. again, just being slightly newer to the committee, being that we did receive 2 correspondence items, is the time to discuss those ones when you raise the correspondence items at the beginning, or is there, I guess I'm just asking, when is the opportunity to discuss?
I can speak to that for process purposes. Where those are correspondence related to a specific item, 9.2.1, those could be raised as part of debate and discussion at that time. If you have, questions arising from that correspondence, you can ask those as staff. You can, if there's something in those pieces of correspondence that you think is worth highlighting in terms of notes and topics, you can bring it up as part of the debate.
Okay, I'm sorry, the correspondence item, the second one, I believe, didn't relate to any of the properties that were in the motion.
The clerk's office did flag that one as related. It's somewhat less intuitively, but it was specific to that item. I can speak to that just briefly. But I think where we've concluded that item, I think we wouldn't be able to speak to it anymore, anyways.
Okay.
So there was a motion to adjourn. We have
So moved.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.